Have you ever been around people that are actually kind and caring and nice, but you felt really lonely inside? And this loneliness for us can sometimes reach levels that it's like almost physically painful. If you can relate to that, let me know down in the comments, and that video is really for you, because this is something that I was really struggling with, right? So I want to share with you some tips and things that I did to help myself through that. Because when we're having experiences like that with people who are actually nice, then this isn't a good experience. Then we're trying to avoid this. There's resistance there to going out. Why should I go out and socialize when it feels so ugly, so wrong, so not nice, right? Why should I do this? So people invite you and ask you to come out, and you keep saying no, and people then stop actually asking and inviting you, and then you have this other layer on top of it, that now you are actually alone at home. Now you are isolated, right? So we're adding these extra things on it, and it's really chaotic, confusing it was for me. That's the right word. Like when I was out, I realized intellectually, these people are nice, and they invited me because they said that they enjoyed my company. But my inner critique wouldn't have that, right? Because my inner critique was telling me they just invited me because they're being nice, kind of, you know, if you have a very critical voice, that chatter that goes on telling you all sorts of things about why you shouldn't trust people, and why you don't belong, and why you don't fit in, and why you shouldn't go, and why you're not worthy and not of value and not appreciated, and all those things, right? But it's so confusing, because really in that situation there isn't really all that much evidence for it, right? If we are honest with ourselves, there is not really any clear evidence there that this is true. So it is really confusing. Why am I feeling like this in that situation? And the reason why is because we are having an emotional flashback. The first time I learned about emotional flashbacks was from Pete Walker. You might have read his book, Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving, and he has a lot of blog posts about this as well. I really loved the way he explained that, and it was like light bulbs going off for me. Oh, this is what it is. It triggered, the situation triggered something within me, and that loneliness feeling actually comes from my younger self, right? Did you feel really, really alone throughout childhood? Not just like for a few hours, like whole weeks, days, months, years. For some of us, it's been the whole childhood where you felt really, really alone. So not only is it now in our adulthood that we feel disconnected from other adult beings, but there's also a disconnection from ourselves. Right? It was for me. I was really disconnected from my younger self. I hated my younger self. I thought if she would have been normal, then none of that stuff would have happened, and I wouldn't have all this trouble and issues and symptoms to deal with now in adulthood, right? I hated her. I had so much resentment and anger towards her. So I literally cut that off. I disconnected her. I refused to do inner child work initially. And when I was asked where I feel where I am, like where the essence of me is. And to me, it wasn't like I was in my body. It always felt like I was out here somewhere. It's almost like I'm watching myself going through the motions of life, but I'm not really fully in this body. Right? Hence this emptiness feeling and this aloneness too, because I was so disconnected. So like I said, I wasn't just disconnected from other people, I was disconnected from my younger self and my past. I cut that off, and I disconnected from my body. I was observing myself from up here. Can you relate to that? Let me know in the comments down below whether this is an experience, this is how you got through life as well. This is a coping mechanism. It's a wonderful coping mechanism. It's beautiful. It got us here. It helped us to survive, you know. And there's something that we need to celebrate within for our younger self. Giving all that credit to our younger self and celebrating her or him for that cleverness, that creativity she had to come up with a solution to make it through all these really difficult times. All this trauma and all this abuse, finding a way to survive that, right? To realize that this is what it is, And now having a word for this as well, like having an emotional flashback, when now in a situation in my adult life where there's actually no evidence that I am in danger, there's no evidence that people don't like reject me, or there's no one mean or horrible to me. Actually, they're nice to me. they're making special cakes for me because I'm celiac. I'm a vegetarian. I'm very difficult to cook and cater for. But I have friends who still invite me, and they're making special meals for me. So I have zero evidence that they don't like me. Like, why would anyone invite me and cook something special for me if they don't want me to be there, right? Those kind of things, when in those moments when I'm feeling lonely, so I know this is an emotional flashback. So what do we do with those emotional flashbacks? For me, it was like finding a way to come back into my body, finding exercises and practices to feel safe in my body, connecting with my body again with all my senses, so I can live through my body, so I can really have a felt sense of like the seeing and the hearing and the tasting and all this, like let it come back alive within myself, and connecting to my younger self, giving my younger self what she would have needed back then. This might have been very different to you. For me, perhaps it was like having someone put her arm around her and really saying some nurturing words to her, or just playing with her, or sometimes really to just come in and scoop her and get her out of these really dangerous and horrible places. And those situations, only you know what you would have needed back then. No one else knows. Not even the best, most experienced therapist out there would know. Only you know. And only I know what my younger self would have needed back then. Right? And I am in full control of whether I want to give this to her or not. Right? Because I didn't allow myself to give her that. Because I had all these things about that I am not worthy. I had so much resistance there. But the minute I could allow myself to actually give that and connect with that, and even we're talking in one of my Facebook group the other day about, sometimes when you see other families where everything is really nurturing, you might see it at a school, a teacher being really kind and nurturing, have a situation that was very different for you, but seeing the opposite, seeing someone being nurturing and kind, and using that situation. Like sometimes when I see this, I get really emotional. But these are great opportunities for us, because they're experiences that we can use as a role model then. We can use that and it's, this is how my adult self now can parent my younger self. This I can try out. I can give my younger self that this is some examples of words that I could have used, or how I could have hugged, or what I could have done. So sometimes seeing that can help, right? That can kind of stimulate, and sometimes getting suggestion from our therapist or book, or even in the Facebook groups, or if you're part of my Cyber Root community, I have an online community as well where we're talking about practices and tools all the time, right? But if you belong in a group, then you can ask for tips and things there as well, to kind of spark that inner creativity again for yourself, to explore, allow yourself to test things out, because sometimes you might do something and it doesn't give you that feel, it doesn't feel right. That doesn't mean you failed or anything. Again, celebrate that you tried something, you made that step outside the comfort zone, but keep going, tweaking it for yourself so it does actually feel like it is doing something for you, right? And what really helps there is initially when we just work on our inner connection before, like there's that disconnection, or there was the disconnection from the world, from other people. I disconnected from other people. I disconnected from my younger self, right? And I disconnected from my body. There was all these disconnections. That's why I felt so lonely, so chaotic, and so confused, if that makes sense, right? I had to create peace with all those parts of me, bring them back in, and create a whole, and feeling safe within my body again. And the more I could feel safe within my body, then when I went out, it was easier for me to then being with people and letting my guard down a little bit, so I can actually connect with other people. Okay, so when I got better at actually giving my younger self what she would have needed back then, and really feeling into what would that feel like. You know, how would she have felt receiving all this love and nurturing? What would have done that to you back then? You know, I used to get really emotional the first few times I did those practices, just to flag that too. It was to get really, really sad, but really let that touch, that receiving of kindness and nurturing, let that touch your heart. Right? And when we can do this for ourselves, for our younger self, and then when we're out with other people, we can let the guard down as well to allow that receiving, like for example that friend making a special gluten-free cake or whatever it is with for me, that I can allow, that I can receive that and let that touch my heart. And when we are able to do that sense of loneliness kind of, it dissolves by itself. It doesn't need anything else. So it did for me, right? So this is just some of the tips or some of the practices that I used and I found really helpful. Of course, there's many other tools and things out there that are more geared on your mindset, the thoughts that you're having in those situations, and really analyze them and looking at them, your nervous system regulation, the body sensation. There's so many different angles that you can take this from and explore this with. So this is just a short video with a few tips there. So if this doesn't resonate with you, don't worry. Leave a comment down below, or connect with us in a Facebook group, or join our online Thriveroo community there, so we can have a discussion and we can share some more tips there, and hopefully find something that is of value that suits you too. And you're most welcome to share your tips and tricks down below too, because I think it's so important that we can all learn from each other there. And this is why the communities are so important, or to me. It's heartwarming for me to see how you guys support each other, and I love always hearing from you and how you go with that. So, but I do hope that you found this useful and helpful, and as always, sending you lots and lots of love and rainbows to brighten up the tough times just a little. See you guys, bye!